the live stream.
Should we just get ready with the seats and all?
Hold on a sec, because I'm just going to have you guys join the meeting. So go to zoom.us again.
Should we just get ready with the seats and all?
Hold on a sec, because I'm just going to have you guys join the meeting. .us again.
All right, just a minute. Zoom.us.
Hold on a sec, because I'm just you guys join the meeting. .us again.
All right, just a minute. Zoom.us.
Hold on a sec, because I'm just you guys join the meeting. .us again.
All right, just a minute. Zoom.us.
Hold on a sec, because I'm just you guys join. Everybody's going to hear all this prep. Oh, well, if you can hear this prep, please bear with us. Oh, well, if you hear this prep, please bear with us. Dr. Tom, are you on yet?
I don't have the ID or personal name.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second. At the top of the page, join a meeting, and then that's the code. I just texted it to you.
Say it again, Monica?
She's texting me.
Oh, okay. It's gonna come up. Say it again, Monica?
She's texting me.
Oh, okay.
Why does Catherine go? That's really bad.
Do you see it, Dr. Tom?
Really bad. That's just not good.
I can walk you through it. Would you click join a meeting for me?
I'll give you this one, sure.
Mary Agnes, it hasn't come through. Oh, here it is.
Oh, great.
3772661.
It's like Avatar.
773. Come through. Oh, here it is.
Oh, great.
7772661.
It's like Avatar.
773. Come through. Oh, here it is.
Oh, great.
777. Mary Agnes, are you there? Mary Agnes, are you there?
Make sure it's in the middle.
It's too dark. Take the shade off. See what that does. Okay.
Is that better?
Hi there.
I'm on live. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Well, there's always something, isn't there? Here, let's put a couple of books under there. So we're trying to set this up. It turns out the cell phone reception won't work here, and it's too dark. So I'm going to angle this a little bit. You guys hang on a minute. Let's see if we can get a little better angling. Oh, how's that? That's better, I think. Yeah. There we go. Can you guys see me okay? I think you can. So Mary Agnes, send me a text if you can see me and if I'm live now. So let's do this. Oh, that's nice. There's flowers in the background. You can see the flowers. Oh, that's nice. Well, hi guys. I'm going to assume this is working. And yes, we see you. Okay, great. You might hear the church bells that are going off in the background. It's time to start. So it's here, it's 8 o'clock. I'm in Switzerland right now, but I'm determined to do these every Tuesday, usually at 4 o'clock Pacific, but we did a little early today because 4 o'clock Pacific would be midnight here. And no, it'd be 1 a.m. here, and I'm a zombie at 1 a.m. So I'm going to do it this way. And Marzi, you're going to pull Facebook up so that I can see if people have questions. So we're at a detox center here in Switzerland. I came here to check it out. I've heard it's one of the best in the world, and it turns out that it is. It's really quite spectacular, and I'm going to do more information about it in the future. But this is day 3. It's kind of cool, you know, the background with the church bells going. So today's topic is, I'm gluten-free, why don't I feel great? And it's such an important topic. You know, we just had a meeting with the owners of this clinic, a medical doctor who is just brilliant, and her daughter, who is also a medical doctor, an internist. And I'm sure she's brilliant also. I just haven't talked to her yet about any of that. And talking about how some of the technology that we have with the DrTomOBryanGlutenFree and how it might help them in identifying gluten sensitivities is very cool, very cool. And we were talking about this, and my friend who's here also, Robin Openshaw, the green smoothie girl, who invited me here, she's responsible for us being here. She's sitting there, she said, you know, I've been gluten-free, and, you know, I just, you know, I feel good most of the time, but sometimes I just don't feel great. And I started to talk about why that happens. And she's expressed the frustration that I think everyone feels. So I want to address that. I'm going to talk about why don't I feel great on a gluten-free diet. And the first thing I've got to tell you, the research on this is mostly with celiac patients. And in the world of celiac disease, we all know that if you go wheat-free, that you get better. And there's no question you get better. The intestines, you know, your intestines are a tube. I've said this before, from the mouth to the other end, one big long tube, 20 to 25 feet long. The inside of the tube is lined with shag carpeting. And this shag is where calcium's absorbed, this shag vitamin C over here, magnesium's absorbed over here, the proteins. All the shags absorb different nutrients. And what happens in celiac disease is that the shags wear down and you've got Berber. And if you've got Berber, you don't absorb calcium. You get osteoporosis. It's not rocket science. So that's celiac disease. And so in days past, it's been considered that you've healed if the microvilli come back. The shags come back, they grow back, and they do grow back. They grow back in a year. Oh, there we go. Marzi's just giving me my phone, and there I am on Facebook. So, hi guys. Hi. So your shags grow back, but only 8% of the people, of the celiacs on a gluten-free diet, heal the intestines completely. So the shags grow back, but you still have the tears in the cheesecloth that I've talked about in the past. Intestinal permeability, the slang term is the leaky gut. You still have those shags in the cheesecloth. So only 8% completely heal on a wheat-free diet, a gluten-free diet, only 8%. So the question is, why? So many scientists, many gastroenterologists say, oh, you heal on a gluten-free diet. Well, No, you don't. The shags regenerate, that's true, but they're permeable. You have intestinal permeability. And for those of you that have read my book, The Autoimmune Fix, or if you've been studying about autoimmunity, you know that intestinal permeability is the gateway into the development of autoimmune diseases. So you don't want to still have intestinal permeability after your shags heal. You want the shags to heal to the point to where the cheesecloth has healed also. And for those of you that don't know what I mean by cheesecloth, in that tube, 20 to 25 feet long, you've got the shags. All of the shags are covered with cheesecloth. So only the smallest molecules can get through the cheesecloth to get into the bloodstream. And the bigger molecules can't get through until they've been broken down by the enzymes, which act as scissors to break them down smaller and smaller and smaller. Until they get small enough, then they go right through the cheesecloth. That's why your intestines are 25 feet long. Part of it is to help, because prime rib takes a whole lot longer to digest than bananas, right? So when you get tears in the cheesecloth, though, and you get these molecules going through, that's just havoc. And that's a major reason why people don't feel better or don't feel great. Most everyone feels better on a gluten-free diet. Those that don't, there's a reason why, and I'll get to that here also. But most everyone does feel better, but they may not feel great. For example, in osteoporotics, 65% of celiacs on a wheat-free diet, and their shags grow back, 65% of them still have osteoporosis or osteopenia, which is the precursor to osteoporosis, 20 years later on a gluten-free diet. This is strict gluten-free. They still have the disease osteoporosis or osteopenia on a gluten-free diet. And this is why. It's because there's still the inflammation going on, tearing the cheesecloth. There's something else tearing the cheesecloth. You're not eating wheat, but you're still tearing the cheesecloth. Can you guys hear the birds in the background? It's really nice to be here. Oh, Marzi joined. Hi, Marzi. Thank you. Thank you so much. So the first thing is why you don't feel great on a gluten-free diet is because most everyone still has intestinal permeability. Why is that? Very common reason is the change in the microbiome that occurs when you've been eating wheat and you didn't know that you shouldn't be, or you knew you did it anyway. When you're eating wheat, you change the microbiome. And then when you stop eating wheat, your microbiome changes again for the worse. And I've explained that in other Facebook Live chats. But the microbiome has to be addressed when you go gluten or wheat free. You can't just stop eating wheat and think everything's going to be okay. That's the first step. What you've done there is stop throwing gasoline in the fire. But now you have to kind of clean up the damage that's been done from the years of eating this food that you thought was okay and turned out it wasn't. So just a quick primer on rebuilding the microbiome. There are 3 things that I'm going to tell you about that are important to do. One is root vegetables. Eat root vegetables every day, at least 1 or 2 root vegetables every day. And go to your local natural food market, get organic root vegetables, get every one of them that they've got: turnips, parsnips, rutabaga, beets, whatever the other ones are. Just get some of everyone that they've got. And what we do at home is we dice one of them up, or maybe 2. We dice them up and we saute them with the rest of the vegetables right in the meal. And the root vegetables are the fiber that the bacteria in your gut use to reproduce healthy, good bacteria. It's the food. It's the food. So root vegetables are a great prebiotic. There are many different prebiotics you can get. I recommend you download from Google list of prebiotics. Download it and you'll see, oh, bananas, oh, artichokes, oh, there's a whole bunch of prebiotics. So you'll see them all in there. And Misty, hi, Misty. Do you think the gluten-free movement will have a positive effect on the food industry? I certainly hope so. Well, that's a really interesting question. I certainly hope so. But only if the public gets more educated on why they have to stand up for gluten-free and demand higher quality gluten-free, not just the paste and the crap that's out there right now, excuse me, but it's just paste, guys. Gluten-free foods are not healthy for you. They're not healthy for you. Let me say that differently. Gluten-free foods are not healthy for you. They're white paste. They're just not as bad for you as when you eat wheat. You won't cause the same inflammation as when you eat wheat, but they're not healthy for you. So as the general public demands higher quality gluten-free foods, I think it will have a positive effect on the industry. It's already, I don't know, is it $3-5 billion a year for that? Be sure to tap the share button. Oh, thanks, Missy. And Tracy says Chick-fil-A now has a gluten-free sandwich. Okay, you know, if you're on the road and there's nothing else to eat, you get the best that you can. You know, I travel a lot, and I'm in a lot of hotels and airports, and I get the best food I can. And you know what I do? I get it and I bless it. In my mind, I bless it. And I say, thank you for nourishing me. And I believe that having the right attitude and looking at this food as being to nourish you is going to help make it a better food for you. You know, if you're getting a Krispy Kreme, give it up. You know, it's not going to work to do that. But if you're getting a gluten-free chicken filet sandwich, because that's all that's available on the road, then bless it. And it's going to be healthier for you than if you don't bless it. So the first one in rebuilding the microbiome is root vegetables. The second thing is fermented vegetables. So what's this one? Tracy, my husband's an airline captain, so sometimes he has no choice. Fully agree. Listen, you know, I'm on the road, I know, but there's always salads at these fast food places in the airports. There's always salads. You get a chicken salad. It's not the best chicken, but it's going to be a whole lot better than a Big Mac, right? And you don't need to eat to be full or even to be satisfied. You need to eat to be nourished when you're on the road so that you don't crash, you don't have low blood sugar, you don't have starvation, and so your mind's just on food. You don't have to eat that junk stuff. You just need enough to get by. And some of the smaller airports that I'm in at times, there's really nothing there, and I'll get a banana. Or if you go into the news stores, you know, buy newspaper, they've always got nuts, and you just get the nuts with a few raisins. I'll get a bag of nuts. I usually travel with a bag of nuts and raisins. Best to make your own at home ahead of time, Ziploc bag. But any bags of nuts will do as long as they don't have candies. You know, you see these ones, this trail mix, it's got M&Ms in it. No, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. Tracy, it's possible when you're on the road to get healthier foods in the airport, enough to get by until you get home, and you get a good meal. Jan Riley, Marjan, thank you, honey, for answering that for Jan. Chicken broth. I've been told to use chicken feet. Any input on using chicken feet? Chicken feet are higher in cholesterol. So when you're making bone broth, I'm told it's great to include the feet in there, that it adds a little more flavor. I've never done it, but I don't think there's a problem with it. I've never heard of a problem with it. You, of course, want organic chickens when you do that. So back to rebuilding the microbiome, right? First one's the root vegetables. Second one, you get 4 or 5 different types of fermented vegetables. Once again, natural food store, Whole Foods, that kind of thing. Get fermented vegetables. Just make sure they're not pasteurized. So you get sauerkraut, kimchi, curry flavored, fermented beets, kombucha is not a vegetable, but kombucha is another fermented thing you can do. So you get 4 or 5 different types of fermented vegetables. And every day you walk by the refrigerator with a fork, have a forkful. Because when those vegetables ferment, every vegetable produces different families of the good bacteria. And so what you're doing is you're inoculating yourself every day with families of bacteria. And the key to a healthy microbiome, you're all learning this now, the key to a healthy microbiome is the diversity of the microbiome. You don't just want Lactobacillus acidophilus and Bifidobacterium. You know, when you buy probiotics in the store, Those are the most common ones that we've used for over 30 years now, and they're good. They're really good. But you want the diversity in your gut. So you use a diversity of fermented vegetables, and you're inoculating your gut for you and your family. And you just want a forkful. For those that don't like the taste of fermented vegetables, they won't eat them. If your kids won't eat them, just take the spoon in there and get the juice out of it and put it in the salad dressing. Put it in the soup. They don't have to taste it for it to be of value. You just want it, you want to get it in, right? So that's the second thing. First one's root vegetables. Second one is fermented vegetables. The third one, I think many of you have seen my recipe for applesauce. In England, they call it stewed apples. Brittany Huber. Hi, Brittany. Sorry if you've already answered this before, but I'm new to this information. What is your take on the AIP for trying to get into remission for Hashimoto's? So the autoimmune diet or the autoimmune protocol. If you want to read specifically about Hashimoto's and get the cutting edge information, my good friend, Dr. Isabella Wentz, just hosted a thyroid summit, and she interviewed a number of experts worldwide. That's available online. And her book is excellent. My book, The Autoimmune Fix, also talks about it. So the autoimmune protocol, if that's what you mean by AIP, is excellent. You can't live that way forever. It's not a good idea. But short periods of time, if I had cancer, I said this back in the 1980s, people would ask me, back then, the weird diet was the macrobiotic diet. And people ask me, Doc, what do you think about macrobiotics? I said, well, if I had cancer, I'd do macrobiotics right away. Because that diet, in general, there is very little in that diet that could possibly be inflammatory. And so the goal is to get nourishment and not be inflammatory. So when you have an autoimmune disease, you want nourishment, but not be inflammatory. So I don't write about the autoimmune diet protocol in my book. I talk about a different way of selecting foods, but I think the autoimmune diet protocol is a great one when you have the need for it. So it certainly won't harm you, and it may help. So, Karen Cordes joined. Hi, Karen. Okay, so we've got the root vegetables, we've got fermented vegetables, and the third one I started talking about is the stewed apples or applesauce. And this is very cool, and it always helps to heal intestinal permeability. So you take 4 or 5 apples, you dice them down a little bit, and put them in a pot, and about a third the height of the apples with water, about a third. I throw in cinnamon and a couple of raisins, a small handful of raisins, and you bring it to a boil. And it takes 5 to 8 minutes usually when the skin of the apples, so you wash the apples first, leave the skins on. When the skin of the apples is starting to shine, there's a luster to it. You've released the pectin from the fruit, and that's what the shininess is. Turn it off, they're done. And you have 2, 3, 4 tablespoons a couple times a day. And the applesauce, one of the things it does, it increases something in your gut that's really important for you called intestinal alkaline phosphatase, IAK. And the pectin will stimulate the production of more IAK. And when people have inflammation in their gut, their IAK levels are low. What's the benefit of IAK? It heals the tears in the cheesecloth. It encourages growth of good bacteria. It lowers cholesterol. It lowers high triglycerides. It raises HDL cholesterol. There's a bunch of things that IAK does. It's really good for you. And you get it from eating a little bit of applesauce. You don't have to eat a lot of it. I think it's more in terms of the healing of the gut that we're talking about, it's the repeated exposures that will be of benefit. So you have 2, 3, 4 tablespoons a couple times a day for you or your kids. There's a YouTube video I did on that with what do you do when you have to take antibiotics? And I talk about it in detail there. So we've got the applesauce, fermented vegetables, root vegetables as 3 things that will help heal the tears in the cheesecloth, intestinal permeability, which is the primary reason why people don't feel great when they're being meticulous, for those that don't feel great, when they're being meticulous about being on a gluten-free diet. That's the primary reasons that they still have intestinal permeability. Another reason why they may not feel great and even feel worse on a gluten-free diet. If you feel worse on a gluten-free diet, this is a slam dunk. You really need to be on a gluten-free diet. Most of the people with that, someone's writing here and saying, someone had some of the applesauce for breakfast this morning. And Charity says, I just tried your applesauce recipe the other day. It was really good. Oh, thanks, Charity. That's nice to hear. I'm not known for being a great chef, so that's really great to hear. Thanks so much. And Dee Dee Gully Wilcox, advice on best test to take in regards to knowing food sensitivities from leaky gut, IgG, trying to avoid increasing inflammation reactions. You've got the right goal. I'll answer that in a minute. What was I talking about before that? If you feel sick or you just feel lousy or you're going through withdrawals on a gluten-free diet, remember when no human can break down wheat completely, and it breaks down into different peptides. And my wife's sitting here on the floor doing yoga right now, and she's in a upside down position. And it's like, I'm trying to focus here. She's got these cute little yoga pants on, and it's bad. That's bad. What was I talking about? Look what you do to me. When you can't break down wheat very well, you break. No human can. We break it into clumps of amino acids called peptides. One of the common, lots of smileys on that. Yeah, one of the common peptides that your body makes is called gluteomorphins. Gluteomorphins are called gluteomorphins, and the same explanation I'm about to give you is true for milk. With milk is called casomorphins. Gluteomorphins bind onto opiate receptor sites, and opiate receptor sites are where morphine goes in your body, and they're all over our body. When you've got severe pain, they can't get to it. They give you morphine. It's because it stimulates the opiate receptor sites, and it's a pain reliever, and it calms you down. So gluteomorphins stimulate the pain relievers in our body and calms you down. And the opiate receptors in the brain calm down anxiety. So many people say, oh, I don't need to eat wheat, I just like it. Well, no, it's doing something that helps you feel better, right? Now, we think it's a good thing to feel better, but not the price you pay when you eat wheat, right? So those of you, Tracy said, same for mine. All the foes and fas eat his food too. Okay, yeah. My husband is an FA. He takes containers of baked chicken and vegetable wraps so he can have good choices. That's really great. That's really great. When you feel lousy on a gluten-free diet, it may be that you have elevated antibodies to gluteomorphins. And that's a withdrawal process. Just, coffee's a 3-day process. Gluteomorphins for some people can be a week to 2 weeks of just like being irritable. And I've seen it happen before. You just have to counsel the patient, stay the course, you're going to be fine, stay the course, just stay with it. And then they turn a corner, and all of a sudden, all that orneriness and that, or depression, or just craving stuff is gone. Now that's assuming you're now eating really well and just not adding wheat back into your diet. So sometimes it can take a little bit. If it does, if you go through these kinds of withdrawal symptoms, really important, because gluteomorphin antibodies are associated with a lot of brain dysfunction. Number of papers have been written on gluteomorphins and autism, and these kids with autism, that it fuels more autistic behavior. So if you have withdrawal symptoms, that's a really important sign that you want to stay with this, and you'll get through it. You'll get through it. Another reason why people don't feel great on a gluten-free diet is because they're getting cross-contamination. That we're being exposed to wheat so often, it's almost impossible to not be exposed to wheat, even when you're trying. You have to, you go to our site, theDr.com, theDr.com, and you get the lists on, or in my book, they're all in the book, The Autoimmune Fix, the lists on cosmetics, household chemicals, shampoos, hidden sources in condiments, what condiments have wheat in them, which ones don't. But you really have to do a reevaluation of everything that comes into your space, your whether it's on the end of your fork or it's the shampoo you're using. Many people, when you read your shampoo, you'll see there's wheat starch in there, or they use other names for it. It's all explained in the book. But that's a very common reason, is because of hidden exposures. That's why we came up with the digestive enzymes that we did. I've known about these hidden exposures for years and years, and I just didn't know what to do about it. And all I could do was counsel people to be vigilant. Then I met these two scientists. One had been working 5 years, the other 6 years. And then the three of us worked for 2 years to come up with digestive enzymes that really work. There's lots of gluten enzymes out there in the market, and probably most of them work, but they take 3 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours to work, And you can't do that, because any food that comes out of the stomach, the sentries standing guard, that if anything comes into the intestines that shouldn't be there, activates the immune response. Those sentries are in the proximal part of the small intestine, the first part of the small intestine. So anything that comes out of the stomach, the sentries standing the guard there get activated right away. And they activate the inflammatory cascade, because most oats are contaminated. So if you're eating oatmeal, this place we're at here, they have oatmeal, but they're not certified gluten-free oats. And that's part of the meeting I had with them today, is that over 80%, 85%, depending on what study you read, of the oats are contaminated with wheat. When they harvest the oats, they put them in the trucks to bring to the manufacturing facility. They hauled wheat in the trucks last week. They don't clean the trucks. Or the oat fields are right next to the wheat fields, and some seeds blow over, and so there's some wheat stalks growing up amongst the oats, and the farmers don't see it when they're harvesting in their big tractors. So you get these trace amounts in there that's enough to activate you. That's just one example. Oats are probably okay for most people with a gluten sensitivity, but you have to get certified oats. You can't just get regular oatmeal. And there's studies on this, and I've talked about it before, but it's the cross-contamination that will still activate the inflammatory response. So we came up with these digestive enzymes. They're called E3 Advanced Plus on our site. It's a weird name, I know, but E3 Advanced Plus. They're also called Glutenza. It's the same thing. And you take one before you start eating. Why before? Because usually I counsel that with digestive enzymes, Mrs. Patient, take the enzymes in the middle of your food, so that you're eating the food, it stimulates your digestive system to make enzymes, and then you take some extra enzymes, and then you're eating more food, so that the extra enzymes are in the middle of this bundle of food. So they're digesting from the inside going out, and your own digestive enzymes digest from the outside going in. If you take digestive enzymes before you start eating, your stomach and your receptors say, oh, I've got plenty of enzymes, I don't need to make any more. And so you don't make as much, right? So you want to start eating first. In general, you want to start eating first, and then you want to, I'm sorry, my staff just texted me and I thought there was an emergency. No, it's just one of my staff texting me about something I have to do later. So, with these digestive enzymes, the GI Shield or the E3 Advanced Plus, you take it before the meal, so that anything that comes down there, any gluten, it gets digested and it can't get into the proximal part of the small intestine. And you take them every time you eat anything that may be contaminating. What might that be? Any sauces, any grains at all, seeds, nuts. Those are common sources of contamination. Spices, they put wheat in the spices sometimes. So you've got to be careful, right? So this is a way that you can be careful. This is another reason why people don't feel great on a wheat-free diet or a gluten-free diet, is because they're getting cross-contamination and they're activating the immune response. Cynthia Anderson, we'll definitely try the enzymes. I have no gallbladder for one thing. Oh, let's just talk about that, Cynthia. Your gallbladder is this little storage pouch that sits underneath the liver. Now, your liver makes the digestive enzymes to break down fats. and they get sent down to the gallbladder for storage. Your gallbladder is a storage pouch, right? And so this stuff called bile is made in your liver, and it sits in the gallbladder. When you eat fats, when you eat foods with fats in them, the messages go from the gut up to the gallbladder. Says, I'm eating some fats right now, I need some bile. And that messenger stimulates, the messenger is called cholecystokinin. It stimulates the gallbladder to squeeze a little bit, to squeeze some of the bile out, which then goes down into the intestines to break down the fats. Segue for a moment. When you have a sensitivity to gluten, you produce 1/3 the cholecystokinin you're supposed to. So gallbladders don't work very well. And when gallbladders don't work very well, because you're not being stimulated by cholecystokinin to secrete the gallbladder, the bile out of the gallbladder, you get increased gallbladder volume, reduced gallbladder emptying. And what happens when you get increased gallbladder volume over time, and that bile is sitting in there, and your liver's making bile, and it's just sitting there and starts to dry out? What do you get? You get stones. So what the common protocol is to cut the gallbladder out and throw it away. Now, how are you going to digest your fats? So people with gallbladders taken out, they are more vulnerable to fat digestion problems. What does that mean? It means you don't absorb vitamin A, which affects your eyes and your skin. You don't absorb vitamin D, which affects every cell of your body. You've heard me talk about that. You can't absorb very well vitamin E, which has a whole lot to do with cardiovascular function. You can't digest and absorb vitamin K, which has a whole lot to do with your blood vessels and the status of your blood. All because the gallbladder got chopped out and thrown away. So all of you who have had your gallbladders taken out, you can't cry over spilled milk, but you need to be taking bile enzymes, digestive enzymes, because your gallbladder is no longer secreting bile. And it's an essential component to deal with the fats, the good fats, which are good for you. But you need bile to break down those fats to get them absorbed into the bloodstream. Shiva Nayaki, what a beautiful name. Greetings from Belgium. Oh, hello, Shiva. I could really benefit from your supplements like the enzymes, but the shipping costs are very expensive. That it's nearly impossible to ship them to Belgium. Do you know of, and then the message stopped. I don't know of any in England, or in Europe, rather. I don't. I'm working on that now. We're working to get our things over here, but I'm not really good at that nutrition sales stuff, but we're working on it. Tracy, loving your Health Revolution videos. Oh, thanks, Tracy. That's really nice of you. Thank you so much. That's really nice. Very nice. And honey, I lost the screen here. Can you bring it back up for me? Because I can't see any more questions. Somehow I lost it. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to say today about why don't I feel great. First thing is you still have intestinal permeability, only 8% heal. So how do you heal the intestinal permeability? And that is eat root vegetables, eat fermented vegetables, eat applesauce, and then you really have to test your gut to see, do you have bacteria, bad bacteria, too much of the bad bacteria, parasites, viruses, molds, fungus. You have to check for those things. You have to go to a functional medicine doctor to see what's the state of your gut, because if you've been throwing the wrong stuff down there for too long, thank you. If you've been throwing the wrong stuff down there for too long, the environment of the gut's changed. And so you really want to rebuild a healthy microbiome. And the things that I'm telling you guys here, it's the introductory 101 stuff that really helps. There's more to do, but this really helps. So I'm going to look at a few more questions here. Let's see. Do you have a specific enzyme for people with without gallbladders? Bile supplements in general. Bile supplements in general. Misty, can you please discuss LDN as a method to mitigate gluten withdrawal? Oh, thank you, Misty. Oh, thank you so much. That's really a good idea. LDN stands for low-dose naltrexone. It sounds like a scary name of a pharmaceutical, but it's an extremely safe pharmaceutical that changes people's lives. The LDN conference will be in Portland in September. It's open to healthcare practitioners and to the general public. And they're also going to broadcast it live, and I'll be there. I'm presenting there. I presented the last 3 years there. It's a excellent protocol to begin to dial down on. So to this question, yes, LDN can really help. And thank you. I will remember from now on, Misty, to also bring up about LDN. Let's see. I'll give you Marcial Paljano. Why does it feel like we get more sensitive to gluten cross-contamination after years on a gluten-free diet? Oh, that's really a good question. That's a really good question. Because you're pure and your body can't deal with the crap as much anymore. You know, when you're operating at a 6 or at a 5 on a 1 to 10, you're operating at a 5, getting by, doing coffee to keep going and all that kind of thing. And you're eating something that's not good for you. Yeah, you might feel a little bad, maybe not. And you get rid of it. Now all of a sudden you're functioning as a 6 or maybe even a 7. You're feeling better. You're functioning better. And as you continue this lifestyle and you learn new things like rebuilding the microbiome, so you're functioning at even a higher level, an even higher level. Now you're functioning at an 8 or an 8.5, and now you get an exposure and you crash. It's because your immune system is overreactive to protect you. And it says, no, we don't want any of that in here. And you're functioning at a higher level. That's part of the reason why. There's more to it than that, but that's a big component as to why that happens. That was a good question, though. Thank you so much for that. Hello from Iowa, Karen Fragale or Fragale. Hello, Karen. Nice to see you. Cynthia, thank you for the smileys. And Cynthia said, love the music background. I was going to say, what music? Oh, right, it's the birds. I agree. It's really nice. So, guys, I'm going to sign off. I'm supposed to keep these at 15 minutes. I don't think I've done that yet. But thank you very much. And I'll see you next week on Tuesday. Make sure to like us. And I think there's something to register. Is there a register here? If you guys, I think there's a register or something so that you can see when we're doing another one. So every Tuesday, I'm doing these every Tuesday. So we put announcements up on the Facebook. So please like us and see you next time. Thank you. End meeting. Leave meeting. Okay. Do you want to leave this meeting? I don't want to, but I will. See you guys next time.